Hello and welcome to Vlog Every Day during the coronavirus. Day 1809. I may have said something to the effect of the last episode that was going to be my last one of these, but today is apparently COVID-19 Day of Reflection, 5 years since what I assume is the start of the pandemic. Certainly not the start of COVID-19 because that was in 2019. Here we are, still, pandemic ongoing. Though 22 months since it was no longer a worldwide emergency, so there's that, and most people you meet in the street probably don't even realize the pandemic is still ongoing. And 20 months since I last did this video. Not much has really changed in those 22 months. I'm still living in the same flat that I was living in since the end of 2020. I'm still working at Nusu, although not as one of the IT techs. I'm now a coordinator, not an IT coordinator in a different department, helping with democracy and student action and so on and so on. So I did get a pay rise. That's nice. My flats remained mostly unclean during that time. Not dirty, just cluttered, full of boxes I refuse to throw away because I hoard them on the off chance that I would need them to post something back, or when I do eventually move out of this flat to put stuff into. I am still LARPing, which was something I pretty much only just started in 2023. I had a haircut during that time, but I've also then let it grow out again. I don't think it's quite as similar if it was the last time I did this video, but it's getting there. I have started HEMA, Historical European Martial Art, to do some more hands-on swordplay and some dagger stuff. So that was been fun. So yeah, reflection. Well, I don't want to spend too much time on this, partially so I can hopefully get it out before midnight, although as it currently stands, that's in 25 minutes, who knows. And also, I mean, what can I say here that I haven't said in my 123 other videos on the subject? 5 years ago, I had to go from being fairly skeptical that we were going to have a lockdown to having my life irreversibly changed forever. Someone I was close to moved out of Newcastle when lockdown was announced, and that kicked off a countdown that would sever that connection. And I still really haven't had anyone since who I could just hang out with as myself. Sure, I hang out with people either in my job role or with Central Ambulance or as my fellow LARPers. So, but that's not really the same thing as having a person who just hangs out with you because you're you, which is what I kind of had then. So it's really been 5 years of loneliness. And I think there was a period, I can't remember if it was before or after the last video I did, where I spiraled into a period of disassociation, which I've kind of recovered from for various reasons I won't get into, but not completely. And I feel it in my bones that I'm probably going to end up spiraling into it again. It's part of the reason why I've become really, really keen on my LARPing, because it means that for a day or even during a festival or an entire weekend, I get to just not be me, get to be someone who is arguably much more socially connected than I am. My D&D games haven't really recovered from the lockdown. Before and during the first kind of period of it, I was RPGing almost every other day. And then progressively COVID killed off a lot of them, not all of them. Some of them did naturally end during COVID. The thing I regret the most is the amount of, I guess, suffering from loneliness and my mental health spiral because of that. This is actually technically after a lot of lockdowns ended. Well, it was kind of when I was flip-flopping and I started my degree, and there was just a lot on me. There was a lot I was not coping with, and the thing that kind of buckled was the D&D game that I was DMing, and I have a lot of regret around that because I would have liked to have finished the story for my players, and I've kind of still hope that I can. I've not really reached out to them in a while. I've not really had the energy to finish writing the last adventure, which is all that's left to do. But still, I've got to try and finish the momentum of a story we've not really go back to after a few years' time. maybe I should really just cut it off and start afresh. But I've not really given myself permission to start my new campaign until I have finished this old one, or at least given the players the opportunity to have done that. So now I only D&D twice a week, but one group hasn't managed to find a new in-person place to kind of play at since the effects of lockdown meant that our normal gaming place shut down. And the other is an international group, so they can't meet in person. So all my D&D games are 3 hour plus video calls twice a week, and I never thought I'd be the type of person who would be, well, Zoom fatigued, given the amount of time I spend in front of a screen. But it turns out that actually, I think if at least one of my D&D games was in person, I'd cope with the others being on an online call. But when they're all online calls, and I'm already so sapped at the end of the day, kind of just don't want to sit through a 3 hour video call. You do lose a lot of that connection there. Is there much to really reflect on from my time during the lockdown? I only got a month into it and then I got deployed into hospitals each and every day, which, to be fair, I'm still very proud that I did that, and I think I always will be, of my contributions to the frontline efforts, such that they were. I finished both my postgrads, and I've kind of just really been killing time since. I don't know where I go from here. I've lost all personal motivations. I mean, I suppose I really should capitalize on my 2 media degrees and try and find some work there, but predictably that is difficult to do, and I still have a lot of insecurity about my computer science background, so I don't really know how much I kind of want to go back into that. I have taken up photography, which I've kind of enjoyed doing. Obviously, I've always been a very keen videographer, but I figured it was, I should maybe expand my skill sets, and I enjoyed a lot of the photojournalism that I did in my degree. So I've been doing essentially photojournalism. Have had one paid gig as a photographer, one instance where someone stole some photojournalism I did, and I charged them for it, and I guess that technically counts as paid work. I've been taking lots of photos of protests, also lots of LARP, and now I have a massive backlog of about 2 years. Oh, and the conventions I've gone to. I've started doing more convention visits. There was one year I went to conventions every other month, and it was very expensive, and I should probably not do that. I should probably be a bit more mindful of my spending. But I've been taking photos of those, of LARPing, of protests, and then struggling to really... I still haven't become comfortable as a photo editor. Certainly not the ease I took to video editing. I suppose it's really a complete different skill entirely, and even as a video editor, I'm not really doing much in terms of colouring or that. I'm mostly just doing the editing in terms of the temporal part of it. But that's the kind of artist I am, I guess. I do have some keen to go back into academia, but that involves figuring out what a PhD is, so... Maybe if there was more of me here, I'd have more drive, I guess. I think, honestly, the being so alone for the last 4 years has meant I've got no motivation. I've always really struggled to do much just for myself. I'm always better when I'm doing things that involve others. So without anyone else being invested in my life, I'm not invested myself. And so everything I thought I'd do when I finished my degrees, when I finished photo education, I just have so little keen for. And yeah. Honestly, I never really moved on from 5 years ago.